Hi guys, this is my instant match review of the Manchester City 1, Tottenham Hotspur nil game, or even Tottenham Hotspur nil, Manchester City 1 game. The game has only just finished, and well, Tottenham Hotspur, who very nearly lost it 2-0 because a goal was disallowed for Erling Haaland with no seconds left on the game, basically. It went to VAR and took forever, and then the game went and Spurs managed to create themselves a chance down the right-hand side. Great cross from Pedro Porro, flicked on by Sonny off his back, and it comes to Pat Matasar only about 5 or 6 yards out, and it's just a bit behind him, and he tries to maneuver his head to get the ball in, and he can only put it over the bar. My God, that would have been amazing if Tottenham had found a way to get a result from that game. I have to say, going back to the beginning of the game, first half, Tottenham should have arguably been 3 or 4-0 down at half-time. Manchester City set up tactically so well to absolutely nullify all of Tottenham's threats. They blocked all of our passing lanes. There was nothing for us, and they cut us open time and time and time again down the left-hand side through Doku and down the right-hand side through Savinho. Vicario made some important saves in that half. And then the beginning of the second half, it looked like not a lot changed. But then Tottenham started coming into the game, and there was a period of about 15-20 minutes where we were making chance after chance after chance, and then he brought on some players. Obviously, what had happened at the start was Ange had rested a number of players, the likes of Son, the likes of Spence, and others. And then he brought the big hitters on, Decky Kulusevski as well. And Tottenham started making chance after chance and putting Manchester City back. And in the end, Ederson had to make some good saves to keep his clean sheet. Listen, the first half was not a laugh to watch at all, but the second half, Tottenham, you'd have to say, probably deserved something from that game. And, once again, they're just showing Jed Spence swapping shirts with Doku there. Jed Spence came on and just showed what a player he is. He does not give a shit, that boy. He comes on, he doesn't care who he's playing against, and he just drives at them, takes players on. And, yeah, look, I come away from it. I said before the game, I felt like this was a bit of a shot to nothing. We'd won 3 Premier League games in a row. Could we make it 4? We're a bit of a bogey team for Manchester City. And we put in a really good second half performance. And most importantly, with a week off now, before the Europa League first leg game against AZ Alkmaar, no obvious injuries in that game at all. He was able to use most of the squad. Odegaard got a good 65 minutes in his legs. Very impressive. And that's the most important thing. Listen, would it have been good to win 4 in a row? Yeah, of course it would. But it's clear, it is absolutely clear that Ange Postecoglou is putting all of his eggs in the Europa League basket, and I, for one, am here for it. This is the first time in so long where we have an opportunity to just concentrate on winning a trophy, because not only would that break our trophy hoodoo, but also it would get us into the Champions League, which we are not going to get in via the league table. So, therefore, he can rest players for this game, even though we've got a week to go. He can get minutes amongst the players who are coming back from injury, and he will pick and choose when to play our most important players. Ideally, I think he will choose them just for the Europa League games in the main. And that's certainly what he'll do with Mickey van der Ven and Christian Romero and Dominic Solanke, who are all back in training and due to come back for the AZ Alkmaar game, either the first leg or the second leg. And that is what we have to do. It's all about the Europa League now. But listen, just going through the team today, Vicario, I'm going to give him a 7 out of 10, 7.5 even. Really good with his feet, good positioning. Couldn't have done anything about the goal. Made some really important saves. Pedro Porro, I feel sorry for him. Totally isolated throughout the game. Ange ball not really designed to make a fullback look really good. And they got in time and time again down the left-hand side, their left-hand side, our right-hand side. But he kept at it. He worked hard, Pedro Porro, and you can't ask for anything more, really. It's just good that there'll be lots of opportunities now for Jed Spence to give Pedro Porro some rested minutes, I think. Destiny Udogie, I think, again, looked fresh like he did when he came on for his first start in a long time last weekend, sorry. Archie Gray and Kevin Danso. I'll start with Danso. Again, just so impressed with that man. He's so much more comfortable on the ball than I thought he was going to be. He makes good decisions, last-ditch tackles, saving us from definite second goals many, many times. And him and Archie Gray trust each other. They look good together. And I think he's a bit of a steal of a signing, Kevin Danso. Really like his attitude, really like his personality. Plays some balls in between the lines as well. Brave on the ball and quicker than he looks. He can look a bit cumbersome, but he breaks away from players when there's a gap to run into. A few times in the first half, I thought that he was weirdly kind of caught quite far up the pitch, but clearly that's what Ange Postecoglou has been telling him to do. In terms of Archie Gray, I mentioned during the watch-along, he reminds me of like Lothar Matthäus, Matthias Sammer, just like absolute god sweepers from the back, from like days gone by. Just the way he's so calm under pressure, so composed, drives the ball forward, can pick a pass, long or short, reads the game incredibly well. And I've been listening to all the podcasts this week and a lot of people saying, he's playing so well that really maybe any talk of him being a midfielder, maybe we shouldn't worry about that because maybe we've just got an unbelievable centre-back on our hands. Reminds me of a young John Stones. John Stones never really felt the need to like properly fill out into a huge broad-shouldered defender. He's still just a kind of Rolls-Royce live defender. And that is what Archie Gray is like. 18 years old. It's completely ridiculous how good Archie Gray is. And for me, I'm going to give him and Kevin Danso both a 7.5 out of 10. You've got to bear in mind, they're playing against, the world's top striker pretty much, Erling Haaland. And yeah, he got that goal, but they didn't really give him much of a kick in the rest of the game, I didn't think. Bentancur, he did okay, got his booking. He's playing better. I think his performances at the moment have been better. I'm going to give him a 6.5 out of 10. He was sweeping stuff up. He was getting his body around, being physical, and in the end, I think he was taken off just to give him some rest, but also because he'd been booked. Lucas Bergvall, again, I wrote after, and I spoke after the game at the weekend, I thought that was his best game in a Spurs shirt. Very close to his best game in a Spurs shirt tonight. Taking the game by the scruff of the neck in the second half, driving through the middle of midfield, getting braver on the ball. He is going to be an unbelievable talent. Him and Archie Gray, 18 years old, both of them. Or 19 years at the most, maybe Bergvall. Absolutely ridiculous. Playing like that against Manchester City. My God, imagine if he had other players around him who were as good as he is. And I'm sure Spurs will continue to, or at least will try and buy players in to support those players in the summer. Someone with a bit more experience around him. James Maddison, he got a lot of stick at half-time, Madders, from people in the comments. As I see that Arsenal have only drawn at Nottingham Forest. So... dearie me, Arsenal not doing very well, are they, in their championship winning season? Madders got a lot of stick at half-time. I thought he continued to try and make things happen. He continued to try and get on the ball. Important part of the team. He was brought off with about 10 minutes to go for Timo Werner. The fans didn't really sound like they loved that. And I think he did okay. I'll give Madders a 6 out of 10. I'm giving Bentancur, what did I say, 6 as well. Bergvall, I'm going to give a 7.5 out of 10. Johnson, did Johnson things really. When there was some space to run into, looked really dangerous, got some good crosses in. Nearly set up a goal for Sonny in the second half there, which would have equalised. But again, with Johnson, he's elite at those kind of three things that I've discussed many, many times. He's elite at driving into space. He's elite at getting in at the back post when a ball comes across from the left forward. And he's elite at that shot in the inside right position into the bottom left-hand corner. As Liverpool have just gone 2-0 up, so it looks very much like Arsenal are not going to win the league this season. So that's something to take away from tonight's defeat. But apart from that, Johnson not really involved in the game. But you can't say he didn't try, and he looks a lot fresher than he did before his injury. And that's going to be important going forward into those Europa League games. Odegaard, like I said, got 65 minutes in his legs. Still quick, that's good. Got in some good positions, drove into the box and made a good chance. It was deflected wide for a corner just before he was taken off. I think he's going to be an important player for Spurs down the years. I think he's a really, really good player. And most importantly, taking minutes off Sonny to allow Sonny to be more fresh when he comes on. Absolutely vital. And then Matthias Tell, not really involved in the game that much. Nearly got a chance just before he was taken off, where the ball came across to him, but I think it was Nunes who got in just before he was able to get his shot away. And look, he's working hard. He's just a kid. He's 19 years old. Listen, my hope for this squad is kind of similar to what happened when Pochettino came in and all those players who were talented young players kind of grew up together. I'm hopeful that starting... well, ideally with this Europa League run, but maybe from next season onwards, these players will grow up together, these teenagers, and start rising up the hierarchy of the club and believing that they're the most important players at the club, in the team. and really taking responsibility. I saw some of that from Bergvall today, really taking responsibility, taking that game by the scruff of the neck, to say that cliche once again. And very nearly got us a draw as a result. We really did play well in that second half. In terms of substitutes, Sonny came on, looked okay, probably 6.5 out of 10. Werner, I have to give a 6 out of 10, didn't do anything. Kulusevski worked really hard, looked a bit fresher. I'll give him a 6.5 out of 10. Spence, I'm going to give a 7 out of 10. He really looked to change things when he came on. And Pat Matasar actually had his best game in a Spurs shirt coming off the bench for a fair while. Nearly scored that equaliser at the end, got around the pitch. He looks fresher. Yeah, really good to have so many options off the bench. One thing I've got to say about Man City is they did, after we had that really good spell of about 15-20 minutes in the second half, they did kind of batten down the hatches. They brought on some subs that really changed the game, and they kind of professionally saw that game out. Even though we made a couple of chances, Sonny should have scored from a good Johnson cross, and then Sarr at the end there. Really what City did well in that last 10-15 minutes was keep the ball, go down whenever they felt some contact, waste some time. And that's one of the many, many reasons why they're champions and have been champions 4 times in a row. They won't be champions this year, but you can see the rebuild happening for City. But Spurs, when they have their squad together, and bear in mind, we've still got, 4 or 5 first-team players out, really starting to play some good football now in that second half. And that is what I'm going to take away from this defeat. Listen, yes, we'd all have loved to have gone on a winning run of 10 games in a row to really put pressure on those European places. But Man City were at it today. They wanted it. They knew it was important for them in terms of chasing top 4. And we were lucky to get in at 1-0 only down at halftime. And in the end, we could have got a result. We could have maybe even gone on to win it, but we didn't. And that's just the way it goes sometimes when you're playing a top side. Really enjoyed that second half. I think let's try and remain positive. Thank you for watching the match review. Make sure you give this video a like and press subscribe.